This is a short training video on how to interpret the scores that we get for our students and to decide whether or not they qualify as being learning disabled. Keep in mind that we are really moving in this country toward getting away from the discrepancy formula for qualifying students as learning disabled. Response to intervention in many districts is taking place. And response to intervention is an alternative way to qualify students as learning disabled. There are other ways as well. But it's going to take a while before all schools in this country implement response to intervention. The law is kind of vague right now. It basically says you may use other methods than discrepancy formula. But until it becomes more commonplace, we need to understand this discrepancy formula. And basically, what we're looking for is a difference, a discrepancy between ability and achievement. And we can tell ability through IQ testing. Take a look at this curve, normal curve here, with IQ scores. You will notice that there are that IQs have a mean of 100, and you can tell a standard deviation of 15. Each difference between IQ scores is a standard deviation of 15 right here. In other words, a student, let's say, who is functioning one standard deviation above the mean would have an IQ of 115. A student functioning one standard deviation below the mean would have an IQ of 85. Okay, so where do we get the discrepancy formula and how do we use it? Well, what we want to do is look at the difference between a student's IQ and their achievement scores. And achievement scores are done using the same metric as IQ scores so we can compare them. In other words, a student with an IQ of 100 is functioning with at the mean, at the average range of intelligence. A student with an achievement score of 100 is on grade level. In other words, average for their grade. And so if you see an IQ score of 100, and you see an achievement score of 100, that student's achieving to their ability. Now take a look at this Woodcock-Johnson profile. As soon as I can pull it up on the screen. Here we go. The Woodcock has three areas that we look at to determine eligibility: broad reading, broad math, and broad written language. And the column most important for this discrepancy formula are the column of standard scores, SS. Standard scores are on the same metric as IQ scores. So you see this child with standard score in reading of 61, math 71, and broad written language 64. And if you take a look one more time at this IQ distribution, you can see how the student scores are all in this area in here. So there is quite a discrepancy between their ability and their achievement. Once again, take a look at the scores on this test. The student has a 61, 71, and a 64. So in other words, with an IQ of 100, the student is discrepant 39 points in reading, 29 points in math, and 36 points in broad written language. We require that the student have a 1.3 standard deviation difference. In other words, 20 or more point discrepancy in order to qualify. And in this case, this student would qualify in all three areas. And in this case, you would write a 4-paragraph PLEP. One is an introductory, one for each of the qualifying areas, reading, math, and written language. You would write a goal, and you would write 2 benchmarks for each of those 3 areas. I hope this training video helps.